Three. Welcome to another edition of the GrAE Area. I'm Isaiah Rhodes. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ask Isaiah and on my YouTube channel at Ask Isaiah. I'm here with Power Sircle, the two co-founders of Power Sircle. And we're going to get into depth about what Power Sircle actually means to the sports world and beyond. And we're going to get into some subjects that they will break down. I'm here with Brian Jackson and Teyvon Bussey. They will break down what Power Sircle means, how it will impact sports, and more. And we'll just get into some subjects that will tap into the entire collective of Power Sircle. So thank you guys for tapping in with me. Let's just get into your backgrounds and how you both came together to create Power Sircle. So I'll start with you. Brian.
Um, yeah, so basically Power Sircle it started out as a way for Teyvon and I to get back. We basically made like a team for us to, get back into college. It was myself and about, 4 or 5 others that we played with. And we played in tournaments just around the Bronx, around the city, basically, just trying to get our name out there, trying to be seen by coaches so we can get back and ultimately fulfill our dream and play college basketball. We would train, all train together, all throughout the city, just about anywhere where we could, get a gym and play and have someone see us. That's where we were. We did showcases, man. We even flew to Chicago to just get seen and bring a whole new level of exposure to ourselves. So that's originally how Power Sircle became underway. Actually, one of our favorite songs at the time was the Power Sircle song by Rick Ross and Stiley and Meek Mill and all them. So that's kind of where the name really came from. And we just kind of took it and put our own little twist to it. And here we are.
So as a collective, as that unit that you guys are speaking about, in terms of just taking that independent grind and putting the onus on yourself to get that level of exposure, can you speak to some of the challenges that you guys have had to not only fulfill that dream, but ultimately take it to this point right now?
The challenges that we had were just we weren't getting, the feedback that we wanted. You know what I mean? So the most important thing we didn't do was quit. We just kept at it. We all believed in our visions internally, and we just had to continuously, day in and day out, push through all types of different things, like coaches telling us like, nah, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Just the politics, basically defeating the politics aspect of, everything that was going on. We had to navigate through those little loopholes and things of that nature and just stay true to what we believed in at the end of the day. And so, yeah, to answer your question, it was the politics aspect, you know what I mean? Just a lot of no's before we got that one yes. And then once we got that one yes, we never looked back.
So you mentioned you got that one yes, Teyvon. Did you get that one yes as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So basically, just getting more of an understanding of how the politics work with the game of basketball. Coming out of high school, we knew we wanted to play ball, but we just didn't know how to actually execute and get to that level that we wanted to play in. Like, I remember we wanted to play D1 basketball, but we didn't understand the politics of it. So with our road to getting better understanding of how the whole recruitment process goes and the skill level of what you needed to be to fit certain requirements to be a D1 player, it started opening up our eyes to like, hey, we need to train harder. We need to work on certain things. We need to have this certain look, need this built, and that's pretty much what kind of like made us realize that Power Sircle is needed in that sense. So that was pretty much it on that one. Hopefully I answered the question.
No, definitely. Just transitioning from that process of grinding and getting yourself in preparation to play. Once you guys did get that exposure and find schools that you can play at, you can express what what did you learn as players? Like, what experiences did you go through at the college level that really prepared you to give back at this level with Power Circle to the next generation of potential college hoopers?
I
For me,
think.
oh, no, go ahead, Tim. My bad.
No, I was gonna say, for sure, it would have to be humbling, being humble for one, because I feel like we all seen kids being recruited and these colleges coming to them and showing them what they could be offered, you know, and we had to really realize that we weren't at that level where we could be offered all these opportunities, you know, because we had no names. So being humble was a big thing. Just being humble by the whole process was big for us. Again, and getting more understanding of the process, I think. And as we got more understanding of the process, we both, well, the group initially started finding our best situations, like the best situation that best suited us. But yeah, that's something right there.
Yeah, for me, I went where I went where I was wanted. You know what I mean? That was the most important thing for me. I didn't want to really stray too far away from my brothers. We had this vision where we were all going to go play at the same team. You know what I'm saying? But once you knowing what I know now, how the college, you know, coaching and recruiting and everything works, like that's unrealistic. You know what I mean? We had to be humble. From the moment I walked on the campus, I had to be an instant learner. I had to put the training wheels right back on and basically unlearn what I already knew and learn something new. And I knew that learning what I was getting ready to learn was the best way for me. You know what I mean? And ultimately, college basketball isn't a joke. You know what I mean? Like it's a real thing, no matter what level you're on. And if you don't take it, if you don't treat it as such, then you probably won't be rewarded as a result. You know what I'm saying? So we knew that, and I think our process and our path to where by the time we did step onto a college campus, you know, we were already primed and ready for that. You know what I mean? Because we done went through so many, you know, turbulent times, you know, trying to get to that point. So we were already ready and humbled and understood that we had to work for everything moving forward.
So where did you guys ultimately land?
So I played at Skill for 3 years. I started out at ASA College. Didn't really work out for me there basketball wise, but I did stay there and get my, you know, do my classes and get my associates. Didn't hoop there, but I stayed there, got the grades. So that way, when it was time for me to make a move, I didn't want, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want anything to kind of like hold me back as far as grades are concerned, which is a major key. So I took care of the grades, had a good GPA, and I was able to transfer. And then once I got the Skill, man, it was just like everything was just happening at the right time from the team that, you know, welcomed me with open arms. A lot of my teammates that I had from there are still great friends with me still to this day. And that was one thing I was kind of worried about, because I know some college teams may be, you know, selfish and everybody's all for self and trying to do their own thing. But, you know, Skill was really like one big family, you know, so that also too allowed me to grow. It allowed me to kind of fall on my face a few times as far as basketball is concerned and just get back up, because I always had someone, you know, helping me up and making sure that I was good and I had what I need. I had some good mentors.
Now, in terms of you saying everything kind of mapped out at the right time, in terms of the successes of the team, you kind of walked into a well-oiled machine right away to where you guys could make a postseason run. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the year before, they had just went to the playoffs for the first time in about maybe 7 years, I believe, and they lost the first round. And going into my year, we immediately knew, you know, what was at stake. You know what I'm saying, and what the mission was from out the gate. And I like to think that I was that missing piece that helped them, you know what I'm saying, get over the hump, as well as the players who did experience, you know, the playoffs the year before. You know, they came in with a different kind of mindset too, and had that experience that I didn't have. So that's why, like I said, like I alluded to earlier, if I fell a few times, they were able to pick me up and be like, nah, you're good. You know what I mean? Because they experienced it the year before. And I came into a great situation. But that season in itself, we started out, I think, 1-10, and then finished the year 15-2. You know what I mean? To go out and win our first chip for history. So that it was kind of like what catapulted me, you know, in a matter of 6 months to, you know, to the player that I ended up being in Cobble Skill.
Now, Teyvon, you guys obviously didn't go to the same school, but where you ended up going, how was your experience in terms of growing as a player and ultimately learning the game?
I think it was different from how I envisioned it too. I guess rolling with my guys, you know, coming out, we all thought that we was gonna be stars of the team and stuff, you know. Luckily, Brian, he worked his ass off pretty much, and he got like a big role on his team. You know, he ended up being the captain, and which was great, especially for guys who really didn't have names for themselves. But I guess going into Berkeley College, I had a high expectation of where I was going to be because, you know, I saw what I was capable of doing. But going into Berkeley College, I ended up playing a role pretty much and kind of like taking a back seat. So it was very humbling and it was tough. You know, I think that was the biggest adversity that I had to deal with playing at Berkeley College. So, and it was just dealing with adversity and understanding the game more. So we went from playing like street hoops to under the whistle, and that is a completely different game. And understanding plays, knowing when to set the right screen, help defense, reading up on scouting reports. Like, there's so much more to the game that I didn't really understand, you know, especially getting into it. Before even going to Berkeley College, I was trying to walk on at Coppin State University, and I get to luckily I ended up getting a meeting with the head coach at the time, and he looked at my high school stats, and he was like, "What the hell is this? You know, I'm supposed to bring winners to this program. We're supposed to be winners. This is how I get paid, you know, to feed my family. And what we have here doesn't really benefit the program." He said, "Now, what I can do for you is you could practice with us." At first, I was cool with it, but then I'm like, nah, I want to be more than just a practice player. And which ended up, things didn't work out at Coppin. You know, I went to different JUCOs trying to, you know, envision myself with the same role that I thought I was going to get, the star role. And it didn't end up working out for me, but definitely going to Berkeley helped humble me as a player and understanding the game more, which led me to having 4 national championships, 4 conference championships. We ended up getting like a 56-game winning streak. Like, it was just an overall great experience. And that's something that I will never forget. So, yeah.
So both of you guys have been at the pinnacles of success on a team level, at the college level, coming from where you came, the depths of what you had to dig within yourself and rely on each other to achieve this goal. Obviously, you guys separated to achieve those goals individually, but to come back together, you guys were able to transition from player to coaching experience, and then coming to take this Power Circle idea to the next level and give back. So what type of things can you give to a potential hooper who might not be in the best space right now in terms of where they want to go or what they're looking to? What experience can you lend to them to help them find their best fit?
Authenticity. That's one. Being real and not lying to these kids. I think a lot of kids you can't fault them for not understanding the recruiting process and how college coaches and the little nuances and things that college coaches do look for. You can't fault them for that because, like I said, we were once in those shoes too, and we didn't understand it. And like I said, we had to navigate. But we're here to help expedite that process a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We don't want kids to, fall on their face and ended up wasting like 2 years that they can valuably have just by doing it the right way the first time. And that's kind of what our job is, to help them out, train them, and just like I said, just having that certain level of authenticity with them and having them understand, what this is really about. Because like I said, man, a lot of these high school coaches, don't really, fill them in. And it's not entirely the high school coaches' fault. Like, high school coaches have a lot of things that they're dealing with. Some of them are actual teachers. Some of them, are just coaching basketball because they like the game, and they're not really helping kids that really want to go to the next level and play college basketball. You understand what I'm saying? That's not a knock on them. This is just, me being 100% real. But yeah, like just helping them expedite that process and having them, as opposed to them falling on their face a lot. We want to, build them up and uplift them and just educate them on the process as much as possible so we can get them to, achieve their goals and achieve their dreams.
Now, you guys mentioned just not being aware of the process. Can you speak to what kids might have to navigate also dealing with social media? So many of these, not just hoopers, but athletes in general, have so much exposure before they even get on the stage. And as an amateur, to have that level of exposure, you got travel teams, you go all over the place. You think that because you're going through these experiences that it's going to happen right away, when in reality, to you guys' point, it's no linear path. It's always a challenge that maybe they're not necessarily prepared for, because the social media exposure might boost their ego in a different way, and they're not necessarily ready to be humbled and to reset, just different things like that. So how are you guys navigating that climate to help student athletes as well?
Just getting them to understand that you're not really just representing yourself. You're representing something kind of bigger than you. You know what I mean? If you're playing college basketball, you're representing the university that you're playing for. That's the reality of the situation. So you have to be extremely mindful of the things that you say, because as we all know, when you put something on social media, you kind of leave it. You can leave a lot up for interpretation, and you can't gauge whether certain people respond to certain things a certain way. So, just like I said, having them understand that if you say something and you are a point guard for Kalamazoo University, you know what I'm saying? They don't look at it as you're just speaking your mind. They're looking at it as you're a point guard representing Kalamazoo University, and it's bigger than just what you think right now. And that just comes with the territory. You understand what I'm saying? These are things that kids have to understand at the end of the day. And if you can't really grasp that those concepts, then maybe it's not for you. But that's just the world we live in right now, and that's the climate of sports right now too. You know what I mean? There's a bigger microscope on these kids now at a younger age than what it was, let's say, when we were playing. You know what I mean? So every 5 years, it gets a little tougher and it changes.
I just want to add on to that too. With all that, what B said, which is great stuff, man. Like, it's super important for you guys, just everybody who's coming up in the game to really emphasize that. And I feel like also the mental toughness of it too, because you also have to look at how, for instance, I think it was Jackson Hayes. Now, he's in the NBA now, but he didn't get voted into the rookie All-Star game. And he wrote a comment that shouldn't be put out there to the world. And now he's representing his team and such. But mental toughness is big. Like, are you going to take that as fuel for the fire, for you to get to that next level? Like, you know what? Since I didn't get put on or I wasn't voted in, am I going to fight for that next, that next, what is All-Star or the next vote or whatever it is? Like, am I going to fight for that? Like, you can't take everything so harshly. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I was a role player, you know what I'm saying, at Berkeley College, where there was times where I was down because I'm not out there playing or putting up the stats that I wanted to put up, you know. And just thinking about it too, when we were younger and we seen guys putting up averaging like 2-3 points, like during the game, we were like, yo, they're trash or they're like garbage, and they could be either a college NBA, and then you look and you catch them really hooping, and when they get on the floor, they can really hoop. So it's just having that mental toughness to always be ready to compete, always be ready for whatever the next challenge is. You know what I'm saying? There could be there was an instance recently with my college where two athletes were going at it from different schools, and one is in a higher position, but he feels like he's a better competitor because of his numbers, and the other guy, he could have easily, you know, backed down because he's averaging 19 points a game. But my guy, he's barely averaging a point, but he know he could go toe to toe. But that's just the mental toughness he has inside of him. So it's just, I think that's big. You know, mental toughness is very vague, but it's so much that goes into that one category of where it can be either negative or positive. So I think mental toughness is another thing that we should push. Well, that we push here at Power Sircle.
Great point. I wanna piggyback on that, build on that. In terms of like helping student athletes, and I emphasize that because these kids are in college, they have to juggle so much now in terms of education and on the athletic side. But how do you help them identify from a mental standpoint, emotional standpoint, spiritual, what's the best fit for them as players? You know, sometimes, especially, you might be a star on a high school team or whatever teams you play on, but you have a slot at this school, but the coach might need you to be a defender first. You're not a scorer now. How do you get them mentally to prepare for a certain role that maybe they're not used to?
I think it goes back to the A word, the authenticity of aspect of it, because, you know, once you graduate high school, nothing that you did in high school matters anymore once you step foot on a college campus. You know what I mean? So, yeah, at the end of the day, you have to always keep it in mind. Like, yes, the coach recruited you there, he wants you there, and if a coach recruits you, he likely has a vision for you. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Good point.
you have to always keep that fresh in your mind, and at the same time, too, you know, a coach will never ask you to do something he doesn't feel you're capable of doing. You know what I mean? So, just understanding that a coach asking you to do, say, I want you to be a defender, but you know you're a scorer, just do what he says. And then once you master that role, that's another, you know, I guess, skill set you can add to your game that you probably didn't have before. And it doesn't necessarily mean you can't score, but you have to build trust with your coach.
Right.
Like,
Good point.
You can build that trust with your coach. If he asks you to defend and you don't go out there and defend, you'll never be able to do your scoring. You understand what I'm saying? So it's all about playing the game. You know what I'm saying? You got to give a little to get a little. You understand what I mean? So when I just to incorporate myself into the story, when I first got the Cobra skill, was I just a shooter? No, but my coach needed me to play defense, and I knew that was my ticket. I knew that was my ticket onto the floor. So I did whatever he asked me to do. You know what I mean? Like, before I played college basketball, I wasn't taking charges. Like, that wasn't even anything that was a part of my game. But I knew if I wanted to increase my minutes from like 11 minutes per point, you know, per game to about 20, 25, then I had to do all of those little things. You understand what I'm saying? In order for me to get what I wanted out of the situation. And that's ultimately put the ball in the basket. So, like I said, man, it just goes back to giving a little to get a little, and you have to be prepared to do that. You know, you understand what I'm saying? So, and also too, not taking everything so personal. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids nowadays, they may take things like that a little personal. Like, coach wants me to be a defender. Like, what do you mean by that? It's just like, nah, man, like, that's what's needed for the team right now. You know what I mean? So, and the ultimate goal is to win. So, how bad do you want to win? Players that want to win and all about winning, they'll do anything in their power to make sure they get that victory. You know what I mean? So it's a lot, but I think that's really, you know, what it really boils down to.
Yeah, as a player, going into a new situation, you guys both mentioned a key word that I want to build on, and it's vision, not only as an individual, but also for the team. So if a coach recruits a player with a vision in mind for that player, how does that player adjust to the different dynamics of different teams? To your point, Brian, you went into a winner, and in Tay, you experienced winning for your entire run. But sometimes dynamics change on a team. So, what are some things that you advise players to prepare for as team dynamics change?
That's a good one.
That's a good question.
For me, like I said, I went into a winner, and then the following 2 years, I won a combined 7 games. So things do change, and you understand what I'm saying. So you have to be those little things you have to be prepared for. You know what I mean? Like it's not always going to be peachy and everything's going to be smooth sailing. For me, I struggled with it. The year after, I was basically like a leader on a team that had won, went for, like I said, 15-2 in the second half of the season, went to the national tournament. And then next year, I think we struggled out the gate to win like 3 games. You know what I mean? So it was tough on me because I was holding on to something that really wasn't there anymore. You know what I mean? I kind of had to check myself, you know what I mean? Most importantly, before I can give my all to any of my teammates or the situation at hand, I had to check myself. And that's something that I wasn't able to do initially. You know what I mean? It really wasn't until like midway through that season I had to, just kind of look in the mirror, man, and be realistic, you know what I mean? And just kind of get back to the essence of, why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. It's easier said than done. I mean, some kids may look at this and take something from it, but, it's that's really what it boils down to. It's all about you. And if you're not right, you know what I'm saying, within what you got going on, then you'll never be able to, you know what I'm saying, look at situations for what they are. It'll constantly be a finger pointer. So I had to take accountability, you know what I'm saying, for the change that was happening. I had to let go of what wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, what B's been preaching throughout this is authenticity. Luckily I've been blessed to be on like four national teams, and throughout each national team there was a different type of aura to each team. For one, I think egos is super, super big, because everyone coming into my school or everyone coming into the team was the man at wherever high school they came from before. So I think it was important to stay true to yourself, especially since you're going to be in the program for 4 years, and you'll end up surviving throughout that all. But if your ego starts playing too big of a picture, then it's going to start going downhill, because now you're so caught up on what your ego is saying, you're not really listening to what or following what the team is supposed to be doing in order for you guys to win, to follow suit, And it took a lot of people to get checked at the door with their egos, and which later on led us to win, more. Like I think my last year we were going into a 56-game winning streak. We lost 1 game, but that 1 game that we lost, it was a check for everybody. Everyone looked at it like, all right, fellas, like, that was one that we lost. We had to get rid of that streak, but now let's just win every game after. And we won pretty much every game. We won every game after, but it was definitely ego check, because of the different teams there. But the authenticity within myself allowed me to survive throughout the whole process of it. I know you're a Philly guy, so the whole trust the process is really big in this. So. You have 4 years and you have to trust it. You committed yourself to these programs out there, and you have to trust the process. But with that said, Power Circle, we also help out with that. We check in on the coaches. We do research on these coaches to make sure they are up to what they're saying, what they're preaching. Can they walk the talk? You know what I'm saying? So just like, these are the things that we look out for here at Power Circle as well.
For sure. And just to piggyback off that, I mean, we know the questions to ask ultimately, you know what I mean? Sometimes a lot of these kids don't, you know what I mean? A lot of these kids are going into the recruitment process and they go into their next phase and their mind is just too fixated on, I just want to get buckets, you know what I mean? Like I said, like I alluded to earlier when I said we're here to expedite that process, we're asking these questions, you know what I'm saying? We're getting a good feel because we know what we have, you know, as far as the caliber or the player within the kid. And we know, we feel like we have the best interest at hand because if it wasn't for us, you know, they might find themselves in tougher situations. Not always, but, you know, sometimes that could be the case. So like I said, we already know what questions to ask, being that I, you know, myself as a former collegiate coach. And just because I've been around programs, you know what I'm saying, so long, and I had to basically, you know, do my own process to get into college ourselves, not only myself, but Teyvon as well. We know what questions to ask and we know what language these coaches speak and what they're looking for. So that's how, you know, we'll help these kids the best.
Within this climate of college sports, there's so much shifting right now due to social justice and social injustice and the fight for justice. How do you think that this has impacted the athlete, especially with more athletes speaking up now more than ever? How has this time, do you think, affected young athletes going forward in their next journey?
They're not forced to kind of ignore it anymore. You know what I mean? Like now that they're favorite athletes and, you know, we're witnessing, you know, everything going on TV, social media, and all this thing that nobody can just afford to stay silent anymore. You know what I'm saying? It literally affects everyone, you know? So, like these kids just are speaking up a lot more. They understand, and with everything that's bringing awareness to the actual situation, you know, kids are understanding a lot better, and they're you know, a lot of the times using themselves to identify with what's going on because they've experienced it themselves. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form. Being that the climate is now to speak up and stand for it, and, you know, stand up against it. You know, we're seeing just about every athlete now, you know, speaking up and coming out and, you know, using their voice.
What one thing I am noticing also is that players, while they might not have the biggest platform of, let's say, like a professional athlete, they're using their decisions to go to schools as a means to speak up. So you have Makur. He's the first 5-star recruit in 5 years to choose a HBCU. He'll be going to Howard University. I bring that into this conversation because when you have players making this decision now, from your experiences and where Power Circle sits, how can you as a collective help students make their decisions based on them, not just from a basketball standpoint, but as a man or as an athlete growing into a person? Like what are some things that you help these students look to at a program to help them grow as a person?
I think it's.
Go ahead, Ted.
I think we always preach this. It's like, what is your why? And really try to build on it as soon as we get to you, like, they're like, yeah, we want a ball, we want to do this, blah, blah. And then the next question is, all right, so what is your why? You know what I'm saying? And your why is going to help build that foundation of what you want or who you want to become or what you want to do. Like, these are the things that come out of your why. So, yes, you want to play ball, but why do you want to do it? Yes, you want to go to college, but why do you want to go to college? Yes, you want to choose this major, but why do you want to do it? So it's all these things that follow suit under this why umbrella, you know? And I just want to say it's dope that, you know, 5-star recruits are coming to HBCUs now, because I feel like the PWIs have been making so much money off the culture of our people so much, but now that it's being turned back to us on a public platform, that they're coming to HBCUs, I think that's beautiful, because if it was done not under like this big platform that everyone's doing it now, it would be questionable. The school would be probably put under surveillance. You know, they wouldn't want that person to go there, you know what I'm saying, because of the money that they will bring. You know, just to think about it too, NCAA makes so much money off these college athletes, and the top 10 schools are predominantly white institutes, you know what I'm saying? So now that these big names are going to go to these HBCUs, it's going to bring so much more light to these historically Black colleges. And now that's going to be more of an awakening for kids who didn't know about HBCUs, you know what I'm saying? So, and now when you go to, if you go to a HBCU, it will be more cultural enriching, like you'll be more aware of your people, and you'll walk around and you see professors or presidents or people on higher roles that look just like you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is super important. You get that on the map, and then now it could be an option, you know? Because now you have kids that are like, hey, I want to go to University of Tennessee, I want to go to Wisconsin, or I want to go to University of Michigan, which is predominantly white institutes, you know, and are they being culturally enriching? You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that are being asked about that. But bringing it back to our kids, they will see this. Now it's being televised, and now, hey, they might lift up a finger to go research what is Howard University, who has graduated from Howard University, and then you start seeing names like Puff Daddy, you know what I'm saying, or P Diddy, whichever one you want to call them, Mary J. Blige, son that did Black Panther. You start looking at these people, and they're like, yo, they're like me. So
he did Black
exactly.
Panther. Right.
So it will bring more awareness to kids who aren't aware of HBCU life, and I think that's dope, because now it's something that you can bring to your foundation, and it will truly help you become a better man, you know. And I think that's big. I could go on for days about it, but I don't know if B got something else to say on that one.
Yeah, like it was a great day last week when we seen that, right? But we're watching the pendulum swing before our very eyes.
Right.
The first person to really shed light on it was Josh Christopher, who ended up going to Arizona State. But he put the world on notice by saying he took that visit. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't talking. Like, he did go take the visit, and he ended up choosing Arizona State. But how many players were doing that prior to him? You know what I'm saying?
Just the thought of him taking that visit was a shift enough to plant the seed. Exactly.
So now he's inspiring the next few minds that either in his class or classes in the near future to take that look. You know what I mean? Since then, we've had McCord Maker. We've had a few, you know, kids from, you know, these blue chip schools transfer to HBCUs. We've had two 4-stars that I know off the back that have committed, you know what I'm saying, to Morgan State and I believe Norfolk State as well. You know what I mean? So, and then not only that, the MEAC has several good basketball programs. You know, on ESPNU in February, I watched North Carolina State A&M versus NC Central. And the energy in that game, you know, close game down to the wire, but the energy in that game was as if, you know, they were in Allen Fieldhouse or, you know, Rupp Arena. You know what I mean? So think about that with a couple 5-star recruits playing in that conference. Every game is going to be, you know what I'm saying, high energy and great energy. You know what I mean? They don't have the automatic bid just yet, but, you know, the publicity, you know what I'm saying, that conference is now going to get this year. They're going to get a lot more publicity than they probably had in the last decade or so. You know what I mean? The first thing that I thought about when Maker made the decision was now scouts that are coming to see Maker, and I think the other player's name is Nate Tabor. I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but Nate Tabor. Scouts that are coming to see those two guys play might find a diamond in the rough by watching Florida A&M, a guard or a big man from Florida A&M that might not get that fair shake had those players not come there. So you're seeing a whole bunch of good things, you know what I mean? Even the coaches, you know what I mean? The coaches might be able to make, you know, good connections with GMs that are coming to see certain players play and scouts and things of that nature, and it could catapult their career into something better too. So everybody kind of eats as a result of this decision. You know what I mean? That's the first thing that I kind of thought about myself, and I think it's a wonderful thing, man. There are some good coaches in that MEAC that I do follow on Twitter, and they probably don't get, you know, the publicity that a Coach K would, or you know, Bill Self, or, you know, Izzo, guys like that. But, you know, they're great coaches as well. You know what I mean? So now everything is on a bigger platform, and I think we're gonna reap the benefits of that as a result.
Now, what I want to tap into in terms of Power Circle is like just the whole grand scheme of the basketball community is so vast, it's so big. It's like the ocean. The ocean is way bigger than what we see on the surface, right?
Right.
So how do you get a young collegiate athlete to understand that there's other schools outside of what you just see on CBS on Saturday? You get what I'm saying? Like, if it's with Power Stroke, obviously with the brand, you're going to help them identify each division, whether it's NIAA, D1, D2, D3, wherever it may be. But how do you get a young athlete to see that it's schools outside of just the small portion that might be exposed on CBS, TBS, and things like that?
I'm huge on that because I've played D3, you know what I mean, and knowing the type of players that I competed against for 3 years, you know, some of those players, a lot of us didn't belong where we were, but you can't get caught up in that. You understand what I'm saying? You really can't get caught up on the big things. You have to go, honestly, what fits you. You know what I mean? Like Tay said before, what's your why? As a part of your why, you should know about what is good for you and what is not good for you. Once I got around D1 practices, I realized immediately, like, yeah, I'm not, this probably won't work out for me. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a D2 would take a bite, but ultimately D3, there's nothing wrong with going D3. You know what I mean? Like, you can still have a great career if your goal is to play, you know, overseas or ABA, whatever it is you want to do, have a professional career, you can do it. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult, but as long as you maximize every opportunity that is presented to you, everything else will fall into place. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing that I want to get these kids to understand. Like, yes, scholarships are fine, but there are kids that chase scholarships and chase scholarships and chase scholarships and don't ever end up playing basketball ever again because they don't have anybody in their ear, you know what I'm saying, telling them these things. You know what I mean? So a lot of the kids that we do deal with now currently, they basically, like, they lean on us and they understand that. You know what I mean? We're not really getting the kid that is a know-it-all in some respects. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the type of kids we're attracted to and the type of kids that attract us as well. You know what I mean? We probably won't get the high-profile kid. We probably never will. And that's perfectly fine with Power Circle. What we're more concerned with is the actual mentoring aspect and getting kids' minds right and having them understand, yeah, you have options. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this basketball is your ticket in, but understand that you have options as well. You know what I mean? Like, don't think it's the end all be all. And that's the biggest thing that we're trying to preach, you know, to the kids that we have now. And it seems to be paying huge dividends.
Right. And I want to add on to that too. Just like, I played in USCAA. Like, to be honest with you, before I even heard about that, I'm like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was told when I was going there, like, yeah, we're Division II. Come to find out, we're Division II USCAA. So I'm like, oh, okay. But I get it. And then my biggest dreams was to play on a stage where you have 40, 50,000 fans in the crowd. Like, that's what you envision because that's all you see. But realistically, like B was saying, they don't show these schools on there. You have options. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're going to play. And like B always says, you got to go where you want it, you know, go where you need it. You know what I'm saying? Like, these coaches are going to come out to you like, hey, we want you, yada, yada. And they can work things out. You can get scholarships. You can get grants. You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, you may not be on the biggest TV programs, but your dream, your why, if your why is to play ball, then you'll be able to hoop. You know, if you keep on driving, like for instance, like I think the guy's name is Duncan Robinson.
Yeah,
Who was
he
D3.
plays on Miami.
Right. He played D3. He ended up getting a scholarship to what was it, Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan.
All right. So he put his numbers up. You know what I'm saying? He was like, all right, I went to where I was wanted or needed. He ended up going and putting up his eyes. I mean, people end up opening up their eyes and be like, hey, maybe he's really good, you know? Or maybe Michigan was like, hey, if you play at this school, if you put up a certain amount of numbers, then we can take you. We don't really know the situation behind that, but he did what he did. He did what he had to do in order to get to that level he felt like he needed to play at, which later led him into being an NBA player. So and those are the things that you have to keep in mind. You know what I'm saying? Go where you need it, go where you want it, find your why, and just keep on pushing. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I can attest to that because my first college game, believe it or not, was against Duncan Robinson in a classic at Vassar College. And not only was he talented, but the rest of his team was talented. And as soon as that game was over, I said to myself, I never knew that kids were this talented at the Division III level. You know what I'm saying? That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, I didn't think it was going to be like this. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing to get these kids to understand. Like, listen, and believe it or not, there's a lot of D1 transfers transferring to D3. You know what I mean? Like, there's a SUNYAC conference where it's like Cortland, Oswego, Oneonta State. All of those schools, those are big time schools. You know what I'm saying? Ran like D3. The D3 schools ran like Division I, from the athletic director to the coaches to the staff, everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you can still have the full college experience in a lot of these Division III schools. You know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, the teams from the Midwest, like from Wisconsin, they sell out. You know what I'm saying? They're D3 schools. You know what I mean? So you can still have your fun and you can still maximize. You know what I mean? For me personally, if I didn't go to the tournament, then I probably wouldn't play in front of 10,000 like I did. But I would still take playing on Wednesday night, a Wednesday night home game at Cobleskill over just not doing anything any day of the week. You know what I'm saying? It felt like I was, you know what I'm saying, against one of our rival schools on Morrisville. It felt like we were on ESPN playing in front of you know, a billion people. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about those things. If that's what you're worried about, you have the wrong mindset, and you're not really worried about playing college basketball. You're worried about what comes with playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? So there's a huge difference there.
Right.
Sure.
So as you guys are, I don't want to say in your infancy, because a lot of what you experienced with what was able to come and create this, but as this entity as it is right now, in terms of from a mentoring standpoint and helping student athletes get to where they want to be, where do you envision Power Sircle in the next 5 to 10 years?
Man, oh man, it's so crazy. I mean, me and B, we were just talking about the other day about owning like our own facility. You know what I'm saying? And I think that would be big, especially in this time right now when it's pushing for like so much Black-owned businesses and stuff, and for us to have our own, and more importantly, to have our own facility would be amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would be great. To be a well-known organization, you know, especially in the inner city youth, with the inner city youth, I think that would be big, you know. And again, just like B said, we're not really out here trying to get like the biggest star or anything. We want the kids that are fighting to be seen, you know what I'm saying? We want the kids who want to hoop, who have the talents to play, but never gotten that chance, you know, to play. So I express that a lot. And I feel like 5 to 10 years, we'll probably be going toe to toe with like Gauchos or like New Heights, because we definitely want to get into that AAU circuit. And we want to create our own like league as well, but it's still under wraps with that one, the league that we're trying to create. So we don't want to put it out there. I don't know if B might want to put it out there, but it's a league that we really want to create. And I'm just gonna send it over to B, see what else he has to say on it.
Yeah, we definitely want a facility. That's the goal. To just to have a hub, you know, in a safe haven for where these kids can come. You know what I'm saying? We one of our goals is there's a place called Stydome out in Brooklyn where, you know, Berkeley holds their workouts and they have their practices. And to me, like, to have a location like that, man, like that would be everything. You know what I'm saying? Because then the opportunities become endless. To speak on what we will be doing in 2021, we will have a showcase. We will be doing a showcase for about 20 kids and keeping it, I say 20 kids because we want to keep it small and intimate. You know what I mean? We want to invite, you know, anywhere between 5 to 10 coaches, have them come out there and see 20 kids going through actual real collegiate drills. It'll be a 2-day thing. So the first day will be just us dealing with the kids and having basically just a practice of going through what they will be doing the second day in front of college coaches. This way they can work the nerves out and they're not as nervous and things of that nature. They can have a little walkthrough and be familiar with what they're gonna, you know, showcase in front of coaches the next day. You know, a lot of times when you go to showcases nowadays, you know, it's a lot of it is thrown together kind of fast, and it's a lot of kids, and some kids can get lost in the wind because there's so many things to focus on. So we want to keep it small and intimate and try to get as, you know, I'm not going to say all 20 kids will probably find a college that day, but if we can get at least half, you know what I'm saying, some looks and, you know, on the radar of a lot of these college coaches, that's huge for us. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like we definitely want to right now just master the mentorship aspect of it. And then the basketball part is easy to me, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, getting a hold of a lot of these kids and getting their minds right and having them start thinking different and thinking bigger, and everything else is just falling into place, man. We're really honing our skills right now on the mentorship aspect of it, and everything else is gonna fall into place as far as like where we see ourselves in the next 5 to 10 years. But, you know, definitely a facility, man. We're really banking on that. We want our own little home court. And like I said, once we get to that point, you know, the possibilities are endless.
Sure. And I just want to add on as well, the number of like programs that we do have for kids, like that who basically, when you go into college, some people don't really know what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? So there's a number of programs that I have or that we have that we could showcase to the kids within our own facility that they can mess with before they even get to school. Like, for instance, I have a guy who just he's an engineer and he doesn't mind coming in, talking, showing the programs and stuff like that. I have someone else who also who's a DJ, teach the kids how to beatbox and not beatbox, DJ, make beats. Also, we have someone who's into fashion. We also have someone who does like taxes and financial literacy. So these are the things that we want them to be exposed to earlier than just going into college and now you're just being exposed to this stuff. Because again, I'm pretty sure you can ask me this too. When we went to college, we didn't learn half of this stuff that we was taught in our inner city schools. You know what I'm saying? So when we went to these colleges and we were getting taught all this new stuff, we're like, wow, I didn't even know. Meanwhile, this kid's coming from better zip codes than us. And I learned this in like 9th, 10th grade. I'm like, man, I'm just touching this now. So it really goes to show that kids in the inner city, since they have so much budget cuts on the education, and the cuts are being cut at schools within the inner city, we now have to have those programs in our facility to help these kids and have them be exposed to these things right away rather than later on. So, and I feel like that's another big thing that we will have, you know, within 5 to 10 years, those programs up and running for the kids.
Hey, best of luck to both of you guys. I think for you guys to come together and draw from personal experiences to create this collective and ultimately an entity that will be able to give back to young athletes and help them, you know, what B said, expedite their experience to where they can find a home and build and become better individuals in this world. I think that's a great thing to do, and I'm thankful for you guys to coming on and expressing yourself and just really putting your brand and platform out there to hopefully reach someone. All it takes is one, and you build on that. So I'm thankful to you guys for that. And keep up the great work. Where can people reach you guys?
You could definitely check us out on Instagram at Power Sircle, and the circle is not a C, it's a S, and it's Sir in the sense of male role models or male figures. You know, there's not too many of us being put in the inner city, so that's why it's the S is there instead of the C, so it's more of a male influence. So it's Power Sircle on Instagram. Then you can check us out on Facebook, which is BizJack, but it's also under Power Sircle, where we will be updating like our latest news, dropping off the kids, like we're dropping off like kids who are doing great within our program on workouts. Yeah, that's where it is. We also have our own emails, you know. But it's Brian. Brian, yours is what? Brian at powercircle.org.
Brian at powercircle.org.
Yeah, mine is Teyvon, powercircle.org. You know, yeah. I mean, you want to talk to them about the other thing, B, that you got going on with the Power Sircle?
The detailing.
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't gonna let the cat out.
All right. So we'll just keep it centered on sports for right now.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I want to thank both of you guys for tapping in and, like I said, just expressing yourself and giving some spotlight to your brand. Ultimately, not for yourself, but to give back and help other athletes get to where they ultimately want to be, not just as an athlete, but as a person. So once again, thank you guys for coming on. This is the GrAE Area. I'm Isaiah Rose. You can find me on Instagram at Ask Isaiah. You can also find me on Twitter at Ask Isaiah. This will be up on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. We'll be sure to get those links to you very soon. Ask Isaiah, AskIsaiah. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with much more. Peace.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
God bless. God bless.